Chosen one, pause for a moment and bring all of your attention here. This is not something you play quietly in the background. This is not a message you skim while your mind is elsewhere. If these words have reached you now, there is a reason they found you at this exact point in your life. Something unseen has been unfolding around you, something subtle yet powerful, and it reached a moment where it could no longer remain unacknowledged. This is not coincidence. This is timing, and timing is one of the clearest languages of the divine. Before we go any further, understand this. This message is not here to flatter you. It is here to reveal something you have already lived through without realizing the significance of it. There was a moment recently, perhaps quiet, perhaps unnoticed by everyone else, where you responded in a way that changed the trajectory of your path. You did not announce it, you did not dramatize it, you may not have even spoken it out loud, but something in you made a choice that went against instinct, against conditioning, against pain, and that choice mattered more than you know. You have walked through seasons that would have hardened most people. You have endured pressures that would have rewritten the personality of someone less anchored. There were moments where bitterness would have been understandable, where withdrawal would have been justified, where giving up would have made perfect sense. And yet, somehow, you did not become smaller. You did not collapse inward. You did not turn into what tried to break you. Instead, you carried yourself with a strange calm, a quiet restraint, a dignity that did not come from circumstances, but from something deeper. That is what this message is about. In the unseen architecture of existence, patterns are constantly being observed, not in the way humans watch, but in the way outcomes are felt, in the way choices ripple outward. Most human responses follow predictable lines. Pain creates anger, loss creates fear, betrayal creates walls. These reactions are ancient, expected, and rarely questioned, but every so often a response emerges that does not fit the pattern, a response that interrupts the flow of darkness instead of continuing it, a response that does not echo harm but absorbs it and dissolves it. When that happens, something shifts. You reached one of those moments. It happened when you were tested without warning, when you were already tired, when you had no emotional surplus to draw from, when reacting poorly would have been easy and even socially acceptable. And yet, instead of striking back, you paused. Instead of lashing out, you held your ground. Instead of letting the situation define you, you defined yourself. That pause, that restraint, that inner decision was not weakness, it was mastery. Most people do not realize how powerful restraint is. They think power is loud. They think strength is force. But in higher realms of understanding, strength is measured by what you refuse to become. Power is revealed by what you choose not to do. And you demonstrated that without knowing you were being tested. There is a reason this season has felt different, a reason your inner world has been quieter even when your outer world was unstable, a reason certain conflicts seemed to dissolve the moment you stopped feeding them. When you chose grace over reaction, you stepped out of an old cycle. You exited a frequency where struggle repeats itself endlessly. You moved into a different lane, one where resistance weakens because it no longer recognizes you. This is why certain attacks have lost their force, why situations that once drained you now feel distant, why people who thrived on your emotional energy suddenly have no access to you. You did not fight them, you outgrew the level where they could reach you. There is something deeply misunderstood about spiritual growth. It is not always about adding more knowledge or doing more rituals. Often it is about subtraction, removing the reflex to react, removing the need to prove, removing the urge to defend your worth. You did that naturally, and when something is done naturally, it reveals alignment. Alignment is what creates momentum without struggle. You may have noticed that clarity has been increasing lately. Not dramatic visions, not loud instructions, just a quiet knowing. Decisions feel cleaner, directions feel simpler. You are no longer torn in 10 directions. This is because when inner conflict resolves, guidance can finally land. Noise blocks wisdom. Stillness receives it. You are also noticing that certain doors are closing without drama, relationships fading, interests dissolving, old versions of yourself no longer fitting. This is not loss, this is refinement. When a path accelerates, excess weight is released automatically. You are not being punished, you are being streamlined. And yes, acceleration is happening, not because you demanded it, not because you chased it, but because you demonstrated something rare, consistency of character under pressure. You were the same person in private as you were in public, the same in loss as in hope, the same when unseen as when acknowledged. That kind of integrity removes the need for prolonged testing. It signals readiness. Readiness does not mean perfection. It means stability. It means you can be trusted with more without losing yourself. This is why you feel that something is approaching. Not anxiety, anticipation, a sense of movement beneath the surface, like the ground shifting quietly before a new structure rises. That feeling is not imagination, it is awareness catching up to reality. The next phase of your life will not look like the last one. You are not returning to who you were. You are not repeating old lessons. You are entering a chapter where your presence carries more weight than your words, where how you respond teaches more than what you explain, where people feel something around you they cannot name but want to understand. This is responsibility, not burden. You are being positioned not as someone who convinces, but as someone who demonstrates. Your calm will speak to the anxious. Your restraint will disarm the aggressive. Your steadiness will remind others of what is possible when they stop letting pain make their decisions. Do not underestimate this role. Quiet examples reshape worlds faster than loud arguments. There will still be challenges. Growth always attracts contrast. But notice the difference now. You are no longer fighting for survival. You are moving from stability. You are no longer proving your worth. You are expressing it. Resistance will feel weaker because it is no longer meeting insecurity. It is meeting certainty. And certainty does not need to announce itself. There is also a reason you are being drawn to deeper understanding now. Not surface motivation, not shallow inspiration. Something more real, something grounded. That pull is intentional. When a person reaches a certain internal maturity, they begin seeking truth that sustains rather than excites. Depth over noise, substance over spectacle. Honor that instinct. The choices ahead of you will shape not just outcomes, but influence. People are watching you more than you realize, even if they never say it. They are learning from how you move through uncertainty. They are measuring what is possible by observing what you tolerate and what you refuse. Choose carefully, not out of fear, but out of awareness. And remember this above all else, the moment that changed everything was quiet. It wasn't celebrated, it wasn't rewarded immediately, and that is why it mattered. You chose alignment without knowing it would pay off. You chose truth without knowing it would be seen. You chose light without expecting confirmation. And now, confirmation has arrived. If this message stirred something deep in you, it is because you recognize yourself in it. Not because you were being told who you are, but because you were remembering. Let that recognition settle. Let it ground you rather than inflate you. True strength is quiet. True elevation is stable. Move forward knowing this. You are no longer becoming, you are embodying. And from this point on, what flows through you will reach further than you can currently see. Stay present, stay grounded, stay aligned. Everything else will unfold naturally. Chosen one, stop for a moment and bring your full awareness here. This is not something you listen to halfway. This is not background noise. If these words reached you now, it is because a cycle has closed and another has already begun moving beneath the surface of your life. You didn't imagine the shift you've been feeling. You didn't make it up. Something changed the moment you chose differently than your pain expected you to choose, and that choice rewrote more than you realize. There was a moment recently when you were pushed emotionally, spiritually, mentally, a moment where reacting would have been easy, where responding with anger, distance, or bitterness would have felt justified. No one would have blamed you, no one would have questioned you, but you didn't take that path. You paused, you softened where others harden, you stayed grounded where others collapse, and that single moment revealed who you really are beneath pressure. Most people think strength is loud. They think power is domination. They think winning means overpowering what opposes them. But real power is restraint. Real mastery is remaining aligned when everything around you is trying to pull you out of yourself. And you demonstrated that mastery without trying to prove anything. This is why things no longer affect you the same way. Situations that once drained you now feel distant. People who once triggered you no longer have access to your nervous system. Conflicts dissolve faster because you stopped feeding them. You didn't fight the storm. You became still enough that it lost direction. You may not have noticed it immediately, but life noticed. The moment you chose grace over reaction, you stepped into a different frequency, one where chaos cannot anchor itself, one where opposition weakens because it no longer finds resonance. That is why certain attacks backfired, why doors closed without struggle, why clarity replaced confusion. This is not luck. This is alignment. You are no longer operating from survival. You are operating from stability. And stability accelerates everything. When your inner world stops shaking, the outer world reorganizes around it. That is what you are experiencing now. Quiet rearrangement, subtle upgrades, invisible support moving pieces ahead of time. Pay attention to how peace has been showing up without explanation, not because problems disappeared, but because you are no longer drowning in them. That peace is not passive, it is protective. It is a sign that you crossed a threshold most people never reach because they mistake emotional reaction for authenticity. You didn't suppress yourself, you mastered yourself. This is why your intuition feels sharper, why decisions feel simpler, why you no longer need external validation to trust your direction. When inner conflict ends, guidance becomes obvious. When you stop arguing with reality, reality starts cooperating. There is also a reason certain people faded out of your life. Not everyone is meant to walk with you into this next phase. Some were only aligned with who you were while you were learning endurance. You are no longer in that chapter. Release without guilt. What is meant to stay will stay without force. And yes, something significant is approaching. Not suddenly, inevitably. You feel it because your system is calibrated to it now. You are not waiting for permission. You are not waiting for rescue. You are ready because you have already proven something to yourself that no one can take away. The next season of your life will not demand that you become someone new. It will require that you remain who you already are, calm under pressure, grounded under uncertainty, clear even when answers are incomplete. That is your power. People will feel something around you they cannot explain. Your presence will settle rooms. Your silence will say more than arguments. Your choices will remind others of what integrity looks like when no one is watching. You are not here to convince. You are here to demonstrate. Remember this clearly. The moment that changed everything was quiet.
It wasn't celebrated, it wasn't rewarded immediately, and that is why it mattered. You chose alignment without knowing it would pay off. You chose truth without knowing it would be seen. You chose light without expecting confirmation. And now, confirmation has arrived. If this message resonated with you, if you felt something settle inside you while listening, write 777 in the comments as a signal that you recognize this shift and accept the next phase with clarity. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the messages meant to guide you through what is unfolding. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their quiet strength matters more than they think. And stay present, because what comes next will require awareness, not effort. You didn't come this far to repeat the past. You came this far to embody what you already are.